In this video, I'm going to take you on a hut-to-hut mountain biking trip from Brian Head, Utah to Escalante, Utah. This hut system consists of 5 different huts, and it's a 6-day trip. The huts are stocked and equipped with what you need to stay overnight: sleeping bags, beds, food, water, everything you need. So you just take your personal items on your bike and you make the trip. This is the Hatch Hut. This is the hut on day 1. Yesterday we rode from 10,200 feet at Brian Head down to this about 7,200 foot hut. So we had a net descent of 3,000 feet. So we started up at Brian Head, got dropped off by the shuttle, and then did some climbing up to Brian Head Peak and took in some panoramic views. And then from there we descended a little bit and jumped onto some single track that was amazing, descending about 2,000 feet down to 9,000 foot level. And then for the rest of the day, we were on Fire Road, which was really nice, incredible open views, not technical riding or anything, just really beautiful country out here. And then we arrived at the hut, got settled, cooked up some dinner, hung around the little gas fire in the evening, got a good night's sleep. Now let's see what adventure day 2 brings.
Okay, before I start talking about day 2, I want to tell you about some logistics of getting to the area and starting the trip. I found the best way to do it is to arrive in Escalante, where the tour starts, and find a hotel to stay at, and that's what we did. We found some cabins and got ourselves ready, went out to some Mexican food, and then we met the tour operators at their yard, and we were able to park our cars there. And then following that, we took the van trip, which stopped at about a halfway point, and we were able to get some coffee, potty break, etc. So the big van brought us up there and a huge rack on the back, so we unloaded the bikes, got ready, took the mandatory start photo, and then got underway. And the first thing is a long climb up a fire road to the trail, which heads off to the right off the trail, but you have the option of climbing all the way up to the summit of Brian Head Peak, which is at 11,300 feet, and we chose to do that. So we just grinded our way up the hill, got used to the bags on the bike, etc. I should point out that you can bring a car along, and the cars can access the huts. You may not be able to take the exact route of the cyclists, but you can certainly meet them at the hut. So in that case, you can carry your gear. We decided to carry all our own gear because everybody wanted to ride. We rode up to the top of Brian Head Peak. There's an overlook up there. There's a stone hut up there. It's really pretty, incredible panoramic views of the valley. It's the highest point around, so it's just a stunning panorama view from the top. So we met up there, took that in. We had time, so we spent some time there, and then we got on the single track. And it's not real technical, but it's kind of fun, and it's a lot of net downhill. So we really enjoyed the single track. And the other thing to keep in mind is that you're kind of near or above tree line, so we had some open panoramic views. This is a view of a single track, which is just amazing. So we kind of cruised along the ridge, and you drop down a little bit, but it's kind of up and down. You don't drop off a whole lot until a little bit later in the ride. We continued on the ridge and took in some amazing views along the way. It was just a perfect day. Beautiful clouds, warm enough. We were up high up there in the summer in July. It's going to be hot as we get down lower, but up here it was just perfect riding conditions. And of course, with the downhill, it made it nice and easy. So here we are cruising through another section, and then we come out to a fire road for a while. The rest of the way to the hut is mostly fire road. It's all easy to navigate. It's not very rutty or anything. As you can see here, it's pretty smooth. So we just did that for quite a while, and then there was some more single track, and then there was a little bit of pavement that we had to do just to access another section of fire road, and that wasn't bad. So we just got on the pavement for a while, and then following that, we got back on the dirt on the fire road and continued our way all the way to the hut. We went through some aspen forest. Really just a pretty ride and a great group, and it was a lot of fun. The hut sleeps about 12 people, and we had a group of 12, so we had the huts to ourselves. If you have a smaller group, you'll end up with some other people probably, and that usually works out. I talked to some people, had a good time. Here we are arriving at the Hatch Hut, which is the hut on day 1, and you can see the hut consists of 2 containers. The one on the left there is the sleeping area, and the one on the right is the kitchen and cooking area and shower area. And it's covered up, and there's a deck around it. And then the building over on the left there is a little outhouse. So we got in our first night, and then we figured out the system. They stock it with food. When you get there, you just prepare your own food. They determine the menu, and it's different every night. It's always good. There's stuff for everybody. They check with you in advance, and if you want to pay a little extra, they'll stock it with beer for you. They check with you on the menu to make sure everything works for you. There's usually some meat, fish, vegetarian, really pretty nice. It's really hearty food for cyclists, so no worries there. Here are a few more images showing the beautiful open Utah landscape as we approach the hut. It was a really nice ride. So here's the area where the hut is, and you can see that the hut is there with the solar panels on it. There is Wi-Fi and the staff will take care of things. If you need an evacuation, they can take care of that, but it'll cost you a little extra. We did have some problems. We had a couple of injuries. The bikes work pretty well, but we did do maintenance on the bikes every day, so bring things for that. They do have stands there, but bring your lube and tools and anything you might need to work on your bike, spares, whatever. I chose to sleep out on the deck. It was really nice doing that. And here's the sign for the Hatch Hut and the Aquarius Trail, and there is the hut right there. Another thing to keep in mind if you're traveling fairly light like we did is that you're probably going to be doing laundry every day. So we would do our laundry as early as we could and then hang it up, and usually it would be dry by the morning. But the hut was just a really nice place to hang out. There was a little bit of a twist for us on day 2 as there was a fire and we were not able to do the standard route. So we ended up taking the road, which turned out to be a bit quicker. And as a result, we ended up at the Butch Cassidy Hut for day 2 earlier than we expected. So we went directly to the hut and we dumped off our bags, and then we went out and did Thunder Mountain, which is an amazing part of the trip, one of the best parts of the trip for sure. And that was also supposed to be the beginning of day 3. So we got that out of the way. And what that enabled us to do was to skip it on the 3rd day and then add in some other single track options, which made it quite a bit longer and harder than the standard route. So once we got our bags unloaded at the Butch Cassidy Hut, we headed out to do the Thunder Mountain Trail. So there's a bit of fire road to get to the trailhead, and then once we got on the trailhead, it was just amazing. The way I would describe it is this. Imagine how it would feel to ride your bicycle on the trails of Bryce Canyon National Park. That's really what it was like. It was just amazing. I took a lot of pictures, so I'm just going to let the pictures run and you can check it out. All right, so after finishing the Thunder Mountain loop, we returned to the Butch Cassidy Hut, and it was the usual routine. The first thing we did was kind of settle in, and then, of course, we got the cooking going right away because we were really hungry. That's Joe there. If you've got someone in your group that likes to cook, that's a real benefit. So invite somebody that loves to cook. Joe was amazing, did a really good job. We all shared in the cooking, but Joe was instrumental in that. And so we enjoyed our meals, and then, of course, there's bike maintenance every day. That seems to be a common theme. You got to clean up your bike, get everything lubed and ready for the next day, and take care of any problems you have. Next morning, we took a group shot, and then we got on our way. We headed down the bike path, and then we encountered a trailhead. And this is where we deviated from the route, and we took a single track, which is much more difficult than the prescribed route, but it was totally worth it. I'm not going to tell you exactly where it is. You can figure it out, because not only does the Aquarius people want to keep you on the prescribed route, it's also far more difficult. Now, keep in mind that we had done Thunder Mountain the previous day, so we didn't have to do it today, so that enables us to do a little extra credit here. So I wouldn't recommend this route unless you have a really strong group, but it was totally worth it because it was all single track and it was incredibly beautiful. Some of it was quite technical, but most of it was pretty rideable. We got incredible vista views from up high, and there was some steep and nasty downhills and uphills, and there were places where we were having difficulty riding. But all in all, it was totally worthwhile extra credit. And so now we're back on the prescribed route for most of the remainder of the route, although we did take some other deviations. Day 3 was pretty hard, and it was hot because we were down lower and we were all running out of water. And unfortunately, we eventually ran into this group of Jeeps, and these folks stopped and were kind enough to give us a whole bunch of water, and that was just fantastic. And then we're all good from there. But it didn't mean we were over with the hard parts. So there were some more hard parts, and then we eventually, things opened up wide open with some beautiful vistas. Riding was a bit easier. and we eventually worked our way to the hut for day 3. And that's the Pine Lake Hut. So it was the usual routine: roll in, settle in, get unpacked, do the laundry, get dinner ready, and then enjoy some beer and banter in preparation for the next day's outing. In the morning we had some delicious coffee from the enamel percolator, and there's my rig there. Then there's the group shot, and then the first chore of the day was a big steep climb up to the summit where we took an optional detour. The detour takes you out to a place called Powell Point, and it's an absolutely beautiful location. It's really cool. It's mostly fire road to get out there, and then it turns into single track for the last bit, and it's a really fun ride, and then it just opens up with this incredible panorama of Utah. It's just really a worthwhile add-on if you have the time to do it, so it's highly recommended. This detour is an out and back, and it'll add about 8 miles onto your total. After the trip out to Powell Point, we worked our way up to Barney Top. Now, Barney Top is about 10,600 feet, so we've essentially worked our way back up to the height that we started at, so it was quite a bit of uphill this day and then the end of the previous days. Now that we're up high, of course we get to enjoy some downhills, and then things eventually leveled out and we worked our way along a flat meadow area, which is really beautiful, quite easy. And this section brought us to the next hut, which is called the Aquarius Hut. And then of course once we got to the hut, it was the usual routine of coming in, getting settled, doing our laundry, getting food ready, and then just relaxing and hanging out. If you look at the map, you can see the yellow route and the blue route. The blue route is the single track route, which is the route we chose to take. So we got up in the morning, left the hut, and then went back out into the meadows. And we were the first ones through this year, so the trail wasn't really well defined, but we found it, and it was really amazing. And there were a few sections that were quite technical, really difficult or impossible to ride, so we just hike-a-bike those, and it wasn't that long, but it was significant. And then we got back on the bikes, and it went pretty well. And then we went through some aspen groves, and the trail climbed up pretty steep and then came out to an open area, and we ended up stopping there and having some lunch before we carried on. But this was a really beautiful day. When we got to this point on the Great Western Trail, the group split in half. We were low on water, so the half that went down the hill to the water gave all of our water to those who carried on the single track, and the rest of us went swimming in the lake and had a great time. Following that, we came around and regrouped and got onto the Hell's Backbone Bridge, which is an amazing place. It's a famous bridge. There's a lot of history. I'm not going to go into it here, but it's worth checking out and reading about, and the views are just amazing. So we hung out there for quite a while. And then after that, it was time to carry on down the hill to the hut. And this hut would be the final hut. It's called the Hell's Backbone Hut. And it's pretty easy to get to. It's just a little dirt road up into a little remote area, probably one of the more remote huts. So we hung out that hut, went through our usual process at the hut, and then we prepared for the final day. On the final day, you have to make a decision. There's a dirt route and a paved route. The paved route is amazing. It's not to be missed. It's the Hell's Backbone Road, probably one of the most beautiful roads in the world. And if you can do it in your car on another day, that's fine. You may just want to take the dirt. The other reason to take the dirt is if you're just a die-hard dirt person and you really don't enjoy riding on the road. That would be another reason to take the dirt. But otherwise, the Hell's Backbone Road is amazing and it's kind of a must-see. Our group didn't have a lot of time to come back and check it out, so we elected to do the road. It's probably a little bit easier overall just because it's road riding, but the views are just spectacular. If you do take the road back, a must stop is the Kiva Coffee House. And unfortunately, it was closed when we went by there, so we were able to just horse around a bit on the steps. We missed the coffee, but we enjoyed the steps. From there, it was just a very pretty road burn all the way back to Escalante. So we enjoyed that, but it was just a bit of a road burn, and we were pretty happy to get back. Now, on the way, there's this beautiful lookout that you can stop at, and we did that for sure. At this point, it was a 10-mile road burn back to town, so we all worked together and got it done. We posed at the sign outside of Escalante, cheering about how well we'd done and what a great ride it was. We went out for some food, and then we headed back to the cabins where we stayed on our first night, stayed over, and then we all went our separate ways. Thanks for watching.